My mother-in-law ruined my gender reveal. Now she's not allowed near the baby, and I'm not apologizing for protecting my peace. I'm Michaela, and let me tell you, I genuinely believed I'd hit the jackpot when I married Nathan. His mom, Barbara, was the kind of woman who baked homemade sourdough every weekend and remembered everyone's birthdays with handwritten cards. She was warm, she was thoughtful, and honestly, I loved her. At least I did until that positive pregnancy test changed everything. The shift started subtle like a crack in porcelain. You don't notice until it spreads. We were at their house in Scottsdale for our usual Sunday roast. Barbara made this incredible herb-crested prime rib that could make you weep when the conversation turned to the baby. "So, have you two thought about whether you'll find out the gender?" Barbara asked, passing a bowl of garlic mashed potatoes across their mahogany dining table. I exchanged an excited glance with Nathan. "Actually, we're planning a gender reveal party. Nothing too crazy, just something intimate with family and our closest friends." Barbara's fork froze halfway to her mouth, suspended in midair like time had stopped. "A gender reveal party, isn't that a bit attention-seeking?" Nathan cleared his throat, his hand finding mine under the table. "Mom, it's really important to Michaela. She lost both her parents in that car accident last year, and this is helping her build new family traditions." "I'm just saying," Barbara continued, her voice carrying that particular tone mothers use when they're trying to sound reasonable while being anything but. "In my generation, we were simply grateful for a healthy baby. No fireworks or social media spectacles required." The word spectacles landed like a slap. I forced my smile to stay in place, even though my cheeks were starting to ache. "It's not about spectacles, Barbara. It's about creating a special memory with the people we love, sharing this moment together." "And who exactly is orchestrating this event?" Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I'd started noticing that lately. "Michaela and her friend Haley are handling most of the planning," Nathan said, squeezing my hand supportively. Barbara set her fork down with enough force to make the china rattle. "I see. So the grandmother isn't involved in any meaningful way. I suppose I'm just expected to show up and clap on cue like some audience member." "You're absolutely welcome to help," I offered, though the words felt like pulling teeth. "We could really use your input on the catering menu." "How incredibly generous of you," Barbara replied, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "William, did you hear that? I've been granted permission to select the napkin colors." William, Nathan's father, looked up from his plate with the weary expression of a man who'd navigated these waters for 35 years. "Barbara, let the kids plan their party however they want." The rest of dinner passed in uncomfortable silence, broken only by the scraping of silverware against plates. I pushed my prime rib around, my appetite completely gone, while Nathan's jaw muscles worked overtime with tension. Later that week, I met Haley at our favorite coffee shop downtown, this little place called The Roasted Bean that made lavender lattes to die for. She took one look at my face and immediately pushed her chocolate croissant toward me. "Barber drama?" she asked knowingly. "Is it that obvious?" I broke off a piece of the croissant, letting the buttery layers melt on my tongue. She practically threw a fit at dinner because we didn't ask her to plan the entire party. "Barbara's always been controlling about family events," Haley said, stirring her cappuccino. "Remember your wedding? The woman practically staged a hostile takeover of your color scheme. You wanted sage green and ivory, and somehow everything ended up champagne and blush." "She meant well," I said, though the words felt hollow even to my own ears. "Did she, though?" Haley raised an eyebrow. "So what's the plan for the gender reveal?" "I've had my doctor put the results in a sealed envelope. Only Sweet Dreams Bakery will know before the party. We're doing a cake reveal, pink or blue inside when we cut it." My phone buzzed with yet another text from Barbara. I sighed and held it up for Haley to read. "Been thinking about your little gathering. Blue is traditional for boys, but have you considered navy? Much more sophisticated, also powder blue photographs better. Just a thought from someone with experience." "Your little gathering?" Haley's eyes widened. "Oh, she's already trying to take over. Wait, there's more." I scrolled to the previous message. "Found the absolute perfect venue for your reveal." My friend Dorothy runs the membership committee at Pinehurst Country Club. Their garden terrace is stunning. I've already put down a deposit to hold the date. She did what? Haley nearly spilled her coffee. Michaela, you need to shut this down immediately. She's steamrolling you and the baby isn't even here yet. 2 days before the party, my phone rang while I was folding tiny onesies in what would become the nursery. Nathan's sister, Lauren, and her voice had that particular tremor that immediately set off alarm bells. Michaela, I need to tell you something, and you're going to be really upset. My hand stilled on a miniature outfit decorated with elephants. What happened? Mom was on the phone with Aunt Patricia yesterday afternoon. I was in the kitchen getting water and I heard her say... Lauren paused, and I could practically hear her gathering courage. She said she already knows whether you're having a boy or girl. The room tilted slightly. That's impossible. The envelope's been at Sweet Dreams Bakery since Tuesday. Nobody knows except them. Michaela. Lauren's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. She told Aunt Patricia she called your doctor's office pretending to be you. Said there was a mix-up with the bakery order and she needed to confirm the gender. She did what? My voice came out as a strangled sound somewhere between a shout and a gasp. I sat down hard on the rocking chair we'd just assembled, one hand instinctively moving to my growing belly. There's more, Lauren continued miserably. She's planning to announce the gender herself at your party. She's already ordered this custom gift that makes it completely obvious. What kind of gift? A personalized baby blanket. Blue, with grandson embroidered across it in silver thread. She told Aunt Patricia, and I quote, Mika's not blood family. I should be the one to share news about my grandchild. The words hit me like physical blows, not blood family, as if the past 3 years of marriage, of Sunday dinners and holiday celebrations, of me trying so desperately to fill the mother-shaped hole in my life with Barbara's presence, as if none of that mattered at all. Michaela, are you still there? Yeah, I managed. I'm here. Lauren, thank you for telling me. I know that couldn't have been easy. After we hung up, I sat in that rocking chair for 15 minutes just staring at the wall where we'd started painting a mural of a forest scene. Nathan had spent 3 evenings getting the trees just right. We'd been so happy, so excited. And now, my phone was in my hand before I fully registered the decision. Haley answered on the first ring. She did what? Haley's voice practically shattered my eardrum. Please tell me you're canceling this party right now. I can't just cancel, I said, pacing the nursery floor, my sneakers squeaking on the hardwood. Nathan's cousins are flying in from Oregon. My college roommate is driving from New Mexico. People have made plans, Haley. Michaela, she completely violated your privacy. She impersonated you to a medical office. That's probably illegal. I know. I pressed my free hand to my forehead, feeling a tension headache building behind my eyes. Have you told Nathan yet? He's in depositions all afternoon. Some huge corporate merger case. I left him an urgent message to call me the second he's done. This is beyond inappropriate, Haley stated firmly. This is your pregnancy, your moment, your body that's been hosting morning sickness and swollen ankles and heartburn. She has no right. I know. My voice cracked. What do I do? You confront her, Haley said without hesitation. Right now, today, before that party happens, which is how I found myself 30 minutes later, standing on Barbara's pristine front porch in their gated community, my finger hovering over their doorbell. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the manicured lawn, and I could smell jasmine from Barbara's prize-winning garden. She answered wearing one of her signature floral aprons, a dusting of flour in her silver hair. Michaela, what a lovely surprise. I'm just baking snickerdoodles for the party. I know they're Nathan's favorite. We need to talk. I stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. Barbara's smile faltered. Is something wrong? The baby? The baby's fine. This is about you calling my doctor's office and pretending to be me. The transformation was instantaneous, surprise flickering across her face before being replaced by defensive indignation. Who told you that? Was it Lauren? That girl never could keep her mouth shut. Does it matter who told me? I cut her off, my voice steadier than I felt. Is it true? Barbara wiped her hands on her apron in sharp, agitated movements. I was trying to help. These gender reveal parties can go horribly wrong if the bakery makes a mistake with the colors. I was just being proactive. That wasn't your call to make. The words burst out of me louder than I'd intended. You violated my privacy. You stole a moment that was meant for Nathan and me to share together. You're being incredibly dramatic. Barbara scoffed. I'm the grandmother. I have every right. You're not the mother. The shout echoed through their marble-floored foyer. I'm the one who's been pregnant for 6 months. I'm the one dealing with the nausea and the exhaustion and the anxiety. This is my body, my baby, my experience. I raised 3 children. Barbara's voice turned ice cold. I think I know considerably more about motherhood than you do, dear. The deer landed like a poisoned dart, and suddenly I was blinking back tears. My own mother should have been here for this. She should have helped me pick out nursery colors. She should have held my hand through the scary parts. But she was gone, and I'd been trying so hard to let Barbara fill even a fraction of that void. And what would your mother think of this behavior? Barbara pressed, her voice softening in that particularly cruel way people use when they're about to twist the knife. Would she approve of how you're treating your child's grandmother? Don't. My voice came out low and dangerous. Don't you dare bring my mother into this. Your mother was a reasonable woman, Barbara continued, oblivious to the warning. We had such lovely conversations at your wedding. She would be horrified by how you're behaving right now. My mother, I said, my voice shaking with fury, would never have violated someone's trust the way you just did. She would never have impersonated someone to steal private medical information. She taught me about boundaries and respect, concepts you apparently know nothing about. Barbara's face flushed red. How dare you speak to me that way in my own home? Lauren also told me about your plan to announce the gender yourself at the party, about the personalized blue blanket with grandson embroidered on it. For just a moment, Barbara looked genuinely caught, like a kid with their hand in the cookie jar. Then her eyes narrowed dangerously. Lauren should learn to mind her own business. This is my business. I was shouting now, all pretense of calm completely shattered. My pregnancy, my child, my life, you had no right. It's my grandchild, Barbara shot back. My son's baby. I have just as much right to know as you do. The front door opened and William walked in carrying his briefcase, stopping short at the scene before him. What in God's name is going on here? Your wife, I said, my voice trembling but determined, called my doctor's office, pretended to be me, and found out the gender of our baby before Nathan and I could. She violated federal privacy laws, not to mention basic human decency. William's face went through confusion, disbelief, then settled into weary disappointment as he turned to Barbara. Tell me you didn't do that. It's not how she's making it sound, Barbara insisted, but her voice had lost some of its conviction. I was simply being helpful. By lying, I interrupted, by stealing one of the last special moments I have in this pregnancy. My phone buzzed. Nathan finally calling back. I need to take this, I managed, heading for the front door. We're not done talking about this, Barbara. I made it to my Honda CR-V before answering. Nathan, we have a serious problem with your mother. The day of the gender reveal arrived like an approaching thunderstorm. You could feel the electricity in the air, the pressure building, the sense that something was going to break. Nathan had been absolutely furious when I told him everything. He'd driven straight to his parents' house for what he called a come-to-Jesus conversation. But in the end, he'd insisted we proceed with the party. Everyone's already made travel plans, he said that morning as we hung streamers in our backyard. The space looked beautiful, white and yellow decorations keeping things neutral, with question marks scattered throughout. And Mom swore on everything holy that she'd behave. She promised not to say a word. I adjusted a balloon arch, my movements mechanical. She knows something about our baby that we don't know. Nathan, doesn't that bother you? Of course it bothers me. He ran his fingers through his dark hair. making it stand up in stressed spikes. I'm furious about it, Michaela, but what do you want me to do? Ban my mother from her grandchild's life? Maybe. The word burst out before I could stop it. We stared at each other across the balloon arch, and I saw my own exhaustion reflected in his face. I don't know if I believe her promise, I said more quietly. Your mother has shown us exactly who she is. We should believe her. Haley arrived an hour early as promised, pulling up in her Jeep Wrangler with supplies for backup plans I'd made without telling Nathan. She hugged me tightly in our driveway. How are you holding up? I'm one comment away from a complete meltdown, I admitted. Barbara texted me this morning saying she forgives me for overreacting and hopes we can move past this unpleasantness. No actual apology, you notice? Of course not, Haley muttered. That would require self-awareness. She pulled back to look at me. So what's the plan? We proceed as if nothing happened. The bakery's delivering the cake at 3 o'clock. Nathan's going to keep an eye on his mom, and Lauren promised to intercept her if she tries anything. And if she announces it anyway? I took a deep breath. Then I'm prepared to ask her to leave my house and my life. Good, Haley said firmly, because that woman needs consequences. Guests began trickling in around 2:30. Nathan's cousins from Portland, my college friends, neighbors, co-workers. Our backyard filled with excited chatter and speculation about whether we'd be having a boy or girl. Everyone except me was having a good time. Barbara arrived fashionably late in a powder blue dress that made my stomach drop. Blue. She was wearing blue, with William trailing behind her, looking thoroughly uncomfortable. She carried an enormous gift bag decorated with silver tissue paper. Where should I put this? She asked with a saccharine smile, as if our confrontation 2 days ago had never happened. It's a very special present. With the other gifts, Nathan answered, his voice notably colder than I'd ever heard him speak to his mother. We'll open everything after the reveal, but this one's different, Barbara insisted, holding the bag closer to her chest. You'll want to open it first. I promise all gifts will be opened after the reveal, Mom. Nathan's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. That's the plan. For a moment, mother and son stared at each other in a battle of wills. Finally, Barbara set the bag down with the others, but her smile had turned brittle and dangerous. As more people arrived, I tried to play the gracious host, but I kept catching fragments of Barbara's conversations. She was holding court near the refreshment table with William's sister, Aunt Sandra. I'm just so excited to finally share the news, I heard Barbara whisper, though her whisper carried across the patio. I have the most perfect outfit already picked out for when we take him home from the hospital. It's a shame they didn't think to consult me earlier. I could have helped them prepare properly. I moved closer, my heart pounding. Share what news, Barbara? She jumped, hand flying to her chest. Michaela, you startled me. I was just telling Sandra how excited we all are for today. Really? I kept my voice level, though my hands were shaking. Because it sounded like you were implying you already know whether we're having a boy or girl. The conversations around us died like someone had hit a mute button. Aunt Sandra's eyes went wide, darting between Barbara and me. Don't be ridiculous. Barbara laughed, but it came out nervous and strained. How would I possibly know? By calling my doctor's office, I said loudly enough that everyone in a 20-feet radius could hear clearly, and pretending to be me. The backyard fell completely silent. Even the playlist Nathan had carefully curated seemed to fade into the background. 50 pairs of eyes turned toward us. Nathan appeared at my side instantly, his hand finding the small of my back. Mom, we talked about this, you promised. Nathan, your wife is causing a scene at her own party, Barbara hissed, her composure cracking. Because you violated her privacy, Lauren snapped, stepping forward, her face flushed. I heard you on the phone, Mom. You admitted what you did. This is ridiculous. Barbara's voice rose now, her face turning red. I was trying to help. I was being a good grandmother. By stealing our moment? Nathan demanded. By going behind our backs? It's just a cake color. Barbara practically shrieked. Why is everyone acting like I committed murder? It's pink or blue inside a dessert. This is completely blown out of proportion. It's not about the cake. I said, my voice shaking but clear. It's about boundaries, Barbara. It's about respect. It's about the fact that you couldn't let us have this one thing without making it about you. Respect? Barbara laughed, bitter and harsh. You want to talk about respect? You've been in this family for 3 years. 3 years. I've devoted 35 years to building this family, to creating traditions, to making sure everyone feels connected. And you have the audacity to lecture me about respect. Mom, Nathan started, but I raised a hand. No, let her finish, I said. I want everyone here to hear exactly how she justifies violating federal privacy laws and stealing private medical information. Barbara looked around at the circle of shocked faces. For a moment I thought she might back down, but then her face hardened. Fine, she spat. You want the truth? Yes, I called the doctor. Yes, I pretended to be you because I knew you'd be ridiculous about it. And yes, I know you're having a boy. A beautiful, healthy grandson. There. Are you happy now? Gasps rippled across the backyard like a physical wave. Nathan's face crumpled, the color draining from his cheeks. Mom, he whispered, how could you? I felt tears burning in my eyes, but I willed them not to fall. Not here, not now. You just couldn't help yourself, could you? I said softly, the words slicing through the silence. You had to ruin this too. Ruin? Barbara scoffed, though there was a panicked edge to it now. I just told you you're having a healthy grandson. You should be thanking me for caring enough to— That's enough, Barbara! William stepped forward, voice firm and commanding. You've gone too far, way too far. Don't you dare take their side. Barbara whirled on him, but he didn't flinch. I'm not taking sides, William said. I'm acknowledging reality. You violated federal privacy laws, you betrayed their trust, and now you've ruined what should have been a beautiful moment for our son and his wife. Barbara turned back to me, panic flickering across her face. This is my grandchild too. I have rights. No, I said quietly, but my voice carried across the backyard. You had privileges and you just lost every single one of them. Her face went pale. You wouldn't— Watch me. The week after the disaster, because that's what everyone was calling it now, felt like living in the eye of a hurricane. Calm on the surface, chaos spinning all around us, and the certain knowledge that more destruction was coming. Nathan's phone rang constantly. Barbara had called 17 times the first day alone, 23 the second. By the third day, he'd stopped counting and just started silencing every call from his parents' number. Dad left another voicemail, Nathan said, slumped on our couch while I organized thank you cards from the few guests who'd managed to give us gifts before the party imploded. Some's been crying nonstop, won't eat, barely sleeps. He's really worried about her. I set down the card I'd been addressing to my cousin Angela, who'd driven 6 hours only to witness a family meltdown. I'm sorry she's upset, but, Nathan prompted, hearing what I wasn't saying, but I'm not sorry for setting boundaries. Nathan scrubbed his hands over his face. I know, God, I know, I just never thought she'd go this far. Growing up, she was controlling, sure, but this is different. Has she actually apologized? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Not made excuses, not blamed everyone else for overreacting, but genuinely apologized. Nathan's silence was answer enough. Haley brought over Chinese takeout that evening. Lemon kung pao chicken and enough egg rolls to feed a small army. She spread the containers across our coffee table like a buffet of emotional support. Okay, so what's the plan moving forward? She asked, bypassing small talk entirely. The whole town's talking about Barbara's meltdown at the gender reveal. I've had 3 people ask me about it at yoga class alone. Nathan and I exchanged glances. We'd been having this conversation in pieces all week, circling around the hard decisions without quite committing to them. We're taking space, I said finally. I told Nathan that I don't want Barbara at any more doctor's appointments, at the baby shower, or in the delivery room. Good, Haley said firmly, stabbing a piece of chicken with her chopsticks. She lost those privileges when she decided playing detective with your medical records was acceptable. And after the baby's born, Haley asked more carefully, her eyes moving between us. The question sat heavy in the air. Nathan reached for my hand. "We haven't decided," he admitted. "Part of me wants to believe she'll realize what she did wrong and genuinely change. But the realistic part knows that people like Barbara rarely change." I finished. "They just get better at hiding their manipulation." The next day, Lauren stopped by unannounced, which wasn't like her. She sat awkwardly on our porch swing, twisting her wedding ring around and around her finger. "Mom wanted me to give you this," she said, pulling a cream-colored envelope from her purse. "It's an apology letter. Dad's been laying into her pretty hard. I've never seen him that angry." I took the envelope, feeling the weight of expensive stationery. "How are you doing with all this?" Lauren sighed, the sound carrying years of accumulated frustration. "Honestly, I've been watching Mom pull stuff like this my entire life. Smaller things usually. Taking over my wedding planning, accidentally booking a vacation during my graduation, showing up at my house unannounced, and rearranging my furniture. But it's the same pattern. Everything has to revolve around her, and if it doesn't, she finds a way to make it about her." After she left, I sat in our living room and opened the letter. Nathan read over my shoulder, his chin resting on my head. "Dear Michaela, I'm sorry you felt hurt by my actions regarding the baby's gender. I was only trying to be helpful and involved as a grandmother should be. It pains me that you've chosen to interpret my caring nature as some kind of violation. I've always tried to welcome you into our family despite you not being connected by blood. Perhaps I've been too accommodating, too willing to overlook the way you've slowly pushed me out of my son's life. If my desire to be connected to my grandchild makes me a villain in your eyes, then I suppose I'll have to accept that burden. I hope someday you'll understand that everything I do comes from a place of love." "Barbara, this isn't an apology," Nathan said after a long, painful silence. "This is a guilt trip disguised as an apology." "I know." I folded the letter and set it aside. "Which is why I've made a decision about your mother." Nathan pulled back to look at me. "What decision?" "Until she can genuinely acknowledge what she did wrong. Not that we're upset, but why her actions were wrong. I don't want her around our son." The words hung between us. Nathan was quiet for a long moment, and I could see him wrestling with 35 years of conditioning that told him to excuse his mother's behavior, to keep the peace, to be the good son. "That's a big step, hon," he finally said. "I know, but think about it. If she'll do this now before he's even born, what boundaries will she cross when he's here? Will she undermine our parenting decisions? Will she feed him foods we've asked her not to? Will she ignore our rules because she knows better after raising 3 kids? "You're right," Nathan said slowly. "I hate it, but you're right." 3 days later, we met Barbara and William at a coffee shop called The Morning Grind, neutral territory with witnesses. Barbara arrived wearing what I'd started thinking of as her victim outfit. A muted gray dress, minimal makeup, her usually perfectly styled hair looking deliberately unkempt. The moment we sat down, she reached across the table for my hands. I pulled them back, settling them in my lap. "Michaela, sweetie, I'm so deeply sorry for any misunderstanding between us." "It wasn't a misunderstanding," I interrupted, keeping my voice gentle but firm. "You deliberately impersonated me to access private medical information. That's not a communication error, Barbara. That's a choice you made." "I've apologized for that," Barbara insisted, her voice taking on a pleading quality multiple times. "What more do you want from me?" "Real accountability," Nathan said. He'd been quiet since we sat down, but now he leaned forward, his hands clasped on the table. "Mom, you violated our trust in a fundamental way. You need to understand why that was wrong, not just that we're upset about it. And now you're punishing me by keeping my grandchild from me?" Barbara's voice rose slightly, drawing looks from other customers. "That's what this is really about, isn't it?" She sneered. "You're using my grandson as a weapon against me." "We're protecting our child and our boundaries," I corrected. "Until you can genuinely understand why impersonating me was inappropriate, not just illegal, but morally wrong, we need space." "So that's it," Barbara whispered. Her voice cracked and tears filled her eyes now. I'm just banned from my grandson's life forever. Not forever, Nathan explained, and I could hear the strain in his voice. But for now, yes, no doctor's appointments, no baby shower, no delivery room. And after he's born, we'll need to see real change, sustained, genuine change before you have any unsupervised time with him. This is cruel, Barbara whispered. Tears spilled down her cheeks. We're not doing this to hurt you, I said, and I meant it. Despite everything, I didn't take pleasure in her pain. We're doing this because we need to trust the people in our son's life. And right now, Barbara, we can't trust you. Barbara stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly across the floor. Fine. You'll regret this. When you're exhausted with the newborn at 3 a.m., when you're drowning in dirty diapers and spit up and don't know which end is up, you'll come crawling back and I might not be there. Maybe you're right, I acknowledged, standing as well. Maybe we will need help and be exhausted and overwhelmed, but if we do reach out, Barbara, it will be on our terms, not yours. She stared at me for a long moment, and I saw a flicker of something. Fear, maybe. Or the first real understanding that this wasn't a negotiation she could win. Then she grabbed her purse and stalked out, William hurrying after her with an apologetic look back at us. Nathan and I sat back down slowly, his hand finding mine across the table. That was one of the hardest things I've ever done, he said quietly. I know, but you did great. We did great. Do you think she'll ever really get it? He asked. Or are we just done? I watched through the coffee shop window as William tried to comfort Barbara in the parking lot. She was gesturing wildly, clearly still in victim mode, and I felt my resolve strengthen. I don't know, I admitted. But I know we can't sacrifice our son's well-being or our own sanity, hoping she'll change. If she does, wonderful. If she doesn't, we'll still be okay. 2 months later, our nursery was finally complete. The forest mural Nathan had started before everything imploded now covered an entire wall. Detailed trees with hidden animals, a painted sky shifting from sunrise to sunset. I stood in the doorway, one hand on my very pregnant belly, and felt our son kick against my palm. Haley was helping me hang a gallery wall of family photos. Some included Barbara and William. I wasn't going to erase them from our history, but the prominent spots held pictures of my parents, of Nathan and me on our wedding day, of the family we were choosing to build. Still no real apology from Barbara? Haley asked, adjusting a frame. Nope. Just more guilt trips filtered through other family members. I handed her another photo. Last week she tried to get Nathan's grandmother to call us, I added. Said we were denying her dying wish to meet her grandson.